Universe 7 is facing its greatest crisis yet. Both Goku and Vegeta have unknowingly committed two of the greatest offenses in the history of the multiverse. The Grand Priest isn't going to let everyone just continue on as if this never happened. Vegeta tries to sway his attention by making himself the scapegoat, but despite his newly acquired Omega state and that forbidden celestial technique, all it took was just 2 blows for him to be completely incapacitated. Fortunately, he's rescued by Goku and Broly at the very last moment, though despite the cryptic hopelessness of the situation, Vegeta was still alive. His eyes still hadn't given up. Together with Goku, he does the Potara fusion. Their job is to make the Grand Priest take back the decision of destroying Universe 7 and nothing more. If they can succeed in doing so, it doesn't really matter what happens to them. And to that end, the Saiyan race reaches a new pinnacle. Omni Goku and Omega Vegeta fuse together and give birth to a presence that can only be known as Celestial Vegito. Definitely check out all of the previous parts if you haven't already. The story is finally reaching a climax. We're going to be wrapping this up really soon. So be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you have been enjoying this. As for what happens next, a bad vibe starts swirling around the universe. Be it those who are seeing this battle firsthand, those in faraway galaxies who are unaware of this ordeal and yet can't help but feel uncomfortable, or even the ones back on Earth. Everyone can hardly hold their breath. Without even realizing it, they can feel the end is near. Celestial Vegito, huh? It's amazing how you Saiyans can become so strong so quickly. Consider me impressed, the Grand Priest states. I know, right? With this strength, we plan on sending you back, oh Grand Priest. There's no reason for Universe 7 to bear the punishment. This is between you and us. Let's do this. A mythical fight that will be talked about for ages to come, Vegito replies. Hearing this, the Grand Priest simply lets out a light laugh. It seems you're misunderstanding our current situation, Vegito-san. I am merely the mediator, and currently Universe 7 is an anomaly. Unless it is destroyed, I am afraid the multiverse will collapse. I'll give you 7 minutes, but then it's the end, the Grand Priest says. His face was brimming with firmness. Well then, you give us no choice but to actually defeat you right here and now. Let Celestial Vegito be the progenitor of this new era. Old men should be enjoying their coffee, not destroying universes, Vegito sternly replies. Inside him, both Goku and Vegeta's consciousness were focused on a singular task, to make the Grand Priest concede defeat. Fooling around would have been absolute annihilation of their universe. Vegito instinctively makes the decision to dash towards the Grand Priest, but the instant he begins his sprint, Grand Priest is no longer there. He was already behind them, grabbing their left arm and casually breaking the elbow. Once again, no one could follow the Grand Priest's movements. He was manipulating reality. Now, Vegito, what will you do? I've destroyed your elbow. If you choose to break away, you'll lose your left arm. But staying in this position would mean I can keep destroying all of your bones. The Saiyan race cannot overcome their physical disposition. Or can they? The Grand Priest states. But Vegito was already planning on losing a limb or two just so he can make contact with the Grand Priest. Otherwise, forget defeating him. The fight may end without them even touching the Grand Priest now that he's serious. Vegito turns around, effectively swirling his elbow and grabs the Grand Priest's wrist. Hey, looks like I finally got you in my grasp now, Vegito says. Hey now, don't try anything corny like self-destruction or whatever. I still need Goku-san if he is to be crowned as the new Omni King, the Grand Priest states. Nah, I'm not Vegeta. I'm Vegito. So take this, Vegito says while unleashing an epic barrage of Banshee Blast with his right hand. He follows this up with a newly unlocked attack, one that involves the chaotic Omni Ki together with Vegeta's celestial technique. Vegito had begun concentrating for this attack the moment his left arm was grabbed by the Grand Priest. Ordinarily, it's indeed impossible to defeat the Grand Priest, but what if they were able to somehow seal his consciousness somewhere else? Maybe in one of those different dimensions or realms. The destination didn't matter. Celestial Vegito's current strength would dwarf Omni Goku's strength by a terrifying margin, and yet, even so, Vegito knew that this is their last chance. One final shot to get out of this situation with their universe still intact. They'll deal with Zeno later. For now, the Grand Priest's outburst must be quelled. If he's this aggressive now, imagine what would happen when he realizes that Goku meddled with the Omni ritual. It was perfect in theory, The Grand Priest's surroundings will be erased because of the Omni Key. He won't be able to manipulate his way out. And then, the core of the attack, which is Vegeta's technique, will try to envelop his consciousness. They had this idea because of their fight with Zenith. In hindsight, it all makes sense. Zenith is impossible to touch because his body is either sealed or currently lying dormant in a different realm altogether. But there was one instance where Goku and Vegeta were able to hurt Zenith. It was the final collage of Final Flash imbued with Vegeta's technique, together with Goku's Kamehameha. Vegeta's technique provided the leeway, and then Goku's Kamehameha hurt Zenith. So now, if there's something that would work, it's definitely this. And so, with the Grand Priest's wrist in his hand and an already broken elbow, Celestial Vegito releases an attack dubbed Celestial Chaos. It instantly erases everything around the Grand Priest, and in that brief instance of time, the Grand Priest had nothing that he could manipulate. He literally had nothing around him. Well then, with this, I'm gonna have to say goodbye for now. Hopefully you'll reconsider your decision before you're back, Vegito states, as the final thrust of that new technique enveloped the Grand Priest entirely. However, in the face of this technique, which utilized the pinnacle of what Goku and Vegeta were currently capable of, the Grand Priest grins and bestows an astronomical blow in Vegito's gut. You are much too naive. Isolating me and then banishing my consciousness to another realm? You do realize that the attack you just used is also something that can be manipulated, correct? The Grand Priest continues. Also, Goku, what is this? Now that I've seen this Omni Key, I can't help but notice the crudeness. It's unstable. This may be just a hunch, but by any chance, you didn't meddle with the ritual, did you? Celestial Vegito was taken aback. With this one question, the Grand Priest was giving off an indomitable level of dominance. He demanded an answer, and he was gonna get it. I'm sorry, Father, but that's correct, Whis states. Apparently, the Omni Key emerged within Oob and Boo at the same time. This already made no sense, but then seeing its impact on those two, Goku chose to intervene and do something about that power. And so he took in that key within himself. I see, the Grand Priest says. This is indeed unusual. Well, I knew something like this would happen sooner or later, since the future Zeno became a part of this timeline. There can only be one Omni King, the Grand Priest replies, and then he continues to say, I'm afraid I no longer need to hold back anymore. It's not just Vegeta. Goku shall be destroyed as well. These two have halted the progression of the multiverse. I'll eliminate them, this universe, and then I'll do something about the fact that two Zeno-samas exist at the same time. I apologize, Whis, but this is the end for your universe. I understand, Father, Whis silently replies. Meanwhile, another powerful blow sends Vegito straight into a star that's over 1,000 times bigger than the sun itself. Vegito absorbs the star and quite literally lights himself on fire, but with the amount of power and the type of power that he's outputting, he's kinda just a conductor right now. He dashes straight towards the Grand Priest at incomprehensible speeds, all the while preparing for a devastating kick, but once again, it was futile. The Grand Priest uses but a finger to block that kick, and then he bestows a celestial blow himself that destroys Vegito inside and out. From start to finish, the fight against the Grand Priest lasted 7 minutes total. Celestial Vegito lost. It was never even a challenge. And since Goku's Omni Key was never his to begin with and he couldn't maintain full control over it, the Potara fusion failed as well. Then it's just Goku and Vegeta seconds away from losing everything. They can barely even open their eyes at this point. That's when the Grand Priest begins a full-scale disarrangement of Universe 7. All the galaxies, the stars, even Earth, they all start being compressed. The idea was to bring this universe back to its singularity and then spread that energy to the other universes. Hey Kakarot, get up. We're going for another round. Vegeta struggles to say. His consciousness was fading away, but he still hadn't given up. Goku, however, had exhausted all of his life force because of that rampant Omni Key within him. He could no longer even retain consciousness. Broly goes full berserk mode at this point and trying to stop the Grand Priest in an outright rampage over watching what happened to Goku and Vegeta, but of course, gets pummeled instantly. Gohan's eyes have turned completely white at this point as he too realizes that this is the end. Just once he wishes to see Videl and Pan just one more time. Piccolo had accepted this destiny as a whim of fate. Plus, it's not like the Saiyans or the Namekians will die with Universe 7. They're still alive and thriving in other universes. No, this matter was personal. It wasn't just the erasure or the elimination. It was quite literally the death of Universe 7 and nothing more to the Grand Priest. Listen, oh Grand Priest, Vegeta struggles to say. It may not be today, and I don't know if I'll even be conscious after this. But I will come back, and I will defeat you. Not for the sake of something petty like revenge. I'll come and destroy you to prove who is the strongest. As his vision fades and his mouth was the only thing he could move. I wonder about that, the Grand Priest replies. I have heard the same thing from countless other warriors. Some were even stronger than you two. Listen, Vegeta. It is theoretically impossible to defeat infinity. Hearing this, Vegeta should have been discouraged, felt hopeless, and just accepted his fate like many before him. For what it's worth, it was the end for them, and yet his vision shows him a silhouette of a Saiyan enveloped in infinity. Super Saiyan Infinity, huh? Vegeta dies right after blurting out those words, his last breath leaving him, as he had no doubt that that silhouette was of him. Goku is also taking his last breath by this point. Unfortunately, he lost consciousness before even getting the chance to relish his final few moments, for the Omni Chaos inside of him used this as a chance to take over completely. But it barely took him a second to subdue this Omni Ki. Anything less than a full-fledged Omni King is no match for the Grand Priest. Or is it? There was another individual who had been keeping a close eye on this battle the entire time, and with 70% of Universe 7 destroyed, he chooses now as the best time to interfere. Suddenly, a singular point appears in front of them. Everything, even the Grand Priest's assault on Universe 7, comes to a halt. Whoa, who's that guy? Is that Shaggy? Zeno casually states, but then gets smacked by the future Zeno. No, you idiot, that's just the Dragon God. What do you mean, just the Dragon God? I have a name too, you know, he says. Of all people. Zalama, the Grand Priest glares. So you are finally awake. You better not be here to interfere. Oh, not at all, Zalama casually replies. I'm just here for an interesting proposal is all. Meanwhile, Piccolo and Gohan were stunned. Broly was dumbfounded while Karada, Zenith, and Amarak were pleasantly surprised. The Dragon God Zalama has made an appearance for the first time in 7 million years.